This situation represents a direct theft of taxpayer money, causing severe environmental degradation and a public health and safety crisis. The FAA and the Clark County Aviation Department are leasing public airspace to private for-profit operations and rogue pilots for flights to nowhere, short loops to take off and land at the same airport while constantly buzzing residential homes at extreme decibel levels. This unceasing traffic serves only to secure federal subsidies, while the Clark County Aviation Department triples average staff salaries to $350,000 annually, a fundamentally wasteful and abusive practice. Densely populated areas of Summerlin and Las Vegas are being bombarded by hundreds of loud jets from 3 a.m. to 12 a.m. Constant noise and air pollution have turned Clark County into a health sacrifice zone. Chronic sleep deprivation and extreme decibel levels directly drive cognitive decline, painful neurological disorders, permanent hearing damage, and tinnitus, while long-term exposure is linked to Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, asthma, Parkinson's, and cancer. Yet both local and federal governments claim zero accountability. The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, is well aware that NextGen flightpaths and touring operators like Sky Combat Ace and similar sounding operators like Blue Air Training Corp, Vegas Warbirds, EU Warbirds, All-in-One Aviation, hobbyist pilots, tourist helicopters, and flight schools are causing severe health hazards and safety issues for local residents, yet it chooses to do nothing. Not only does the FAA expose the public to dangerous noise and toxic air pollution, but the agency has also severely lowered its guard on critical safety issues. For years, the FAA has defended its lax policies regarding recreational and tourist operations by relying on traditional see and avoid flight rules. This allows rogue pilots to use visual flight rules, VFR, to navigate around other aircraft while high-speed aerobatic planes dive blindly over neighborhoods, creating an invisible risk of mid-air collisions. Sky Combat Ace and recreational pilots frequently exploit the congested airspace directly over westbound routes, local golf courses, residential zones, and hospital emergency corridors. This inflicts further torture on residents already severely sleep-deprived by late-night emergency medical helicopters and low-flying commercial planes over Clark County starting at 3 a.m. These operators execute extreme G-force maneuvers, climbs, and endless loops from 4 a.m. till past midnight, with Sky Combat Ace doing repeated low passes from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. They cruise at low altitudes, bank sharply, and fly so low and loud that it feels as if they are landing on the roofs. Over the years, an estimated 20% of these flights have grossly violated safety standards, directly contravening federal regulations under 14 CFR 91.19, minimum safe altitudes, and 14 CFR 9113, careless or reckless operation. Meanwhile, the FAA has shamelessly and falsely claimed regulatory compliance, despite a mounting volume of eyewitness videos and clear satellite tracking data, consistently defending the pilot's intimidating and harassing conduct. Even the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy, has repeatedly embarrassed the FAA by calling see and avoid a complete failure in modern, congested airspace. The FAA is operating as a delegator rather than a regulator. It has become a captured federal agency that works hand in hand with powerful aviation lobbyists while ignoring and gaslighting the public. Homendy has repeatedly exposed a poor safety culture within the FAA, where rank-and-file employees have openly expressed fear of retaliation from upper management when trying to fix critical air traffic safety flaws discovered during NTSB investigations. The FAA's internal structure is fundamentally flawed, prone to secrecy, and hostile to transparency. Jennifer Homendy personally led the official denunciation of Sky Combat Ace. She personally and publicly called out Sky Combat Ace by name, following multiple fatal crashes in Clark County, Nevada, and California. In my opinion, this is one of the most egregious examples of exploiting a regulatory loophole. Does adrenaline rush ride tours sound like a standard flight school? Sky Combat Ace exploits regulatory gray areas to conduct extreme flights above residential roofs that would otherwise be illegal. They mask revenue passenger carrying operations, such as sightseeing, simulated dogfights, adventure flights, and other trill joyrides under lax frameworks. Homendi has publicly slammed the FAA for allowing these operators to completely bypass the strict maintenance, tracking, and operational safety boundaries required for standard commercial flights. Recently, NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendi eviscerated the FAA over its astounding failure regarding the DCA near-miss incident. For 18 years, the solutions were on the table. For 18 years, the FAA ignored them. This is what happens when people in power cannot be bothered to do their jobs. We do not need more complaints or reviews. We need accountability and heads to roll. Anything less is just more noise while people die. Jennifer Homendi has issued another chilling warning. The next mid-air collision will be at Burbank Airport, but nobody at the FAA is paying attention to us.
The question is, should the FAA have known there was a problem, and should something have been done? Absolutely. The data was there. The data was in their own systems. It was the NTSB working with them to determine that there were 15,214 close proximity events, 85 of which were serious, over a number of years. One, I believe, failure after another. Frankly, having a helicopter route crossing runway 33 with only 75 feet of, that means 75 feet of vertical separation. What that means is 75 feet at best separating a helicopter and civilian aircraft. Nowhere in the airspace is that okay. Nowhere. This shouldn't have existed.
The airspace over the westbound corridor of North Las Vegas Airport has become so congested and unsafe that the risk of a mid-air collision grows significantly every day. Citizen advocates are raising alarms over near misses and close calls, while highlighting recent disasters at North Las Vegas Airport, like planes making emergency street landings, or helicopters crashing into vehicles and setting structures on fire. To make matters worse, Sky Combat Ace and other high-performance aerobatic planes are regularly going dark on public flight tracking networks like ADS-B Exchange, turning off transponders or disabling automatic dependent surveillance broadcast, ADS-B. Out-tracking while operating in highly congested, busy public airspace is a severe and direct violation of 14 CFR 91.215, ATC transponder use, and 14 CFR 91.225, ADS-B out requirements. Federal law explicitly mandates that all aircraft operating within controlled or busy airspace must keep this equipment activated and transmitting at all times. In response to community pushback, the Las Vegas FSDO, the FAA Western Pacific Region, and the Clark County Department of Aviation have consistently blocked community complaints, effectively enabling commercial operators like Sky Combat Ace and Blue Air Training Corp, as well as 500 low-flying loud jets over Clark County every day. Emboldened by a complete lack of regulatory enforcement or local noise ordinances, pilots are reportedly retaliating against noise-sensitive neighborhoods, deliberately buzzing the homes of known concerned citizens to wage psychological warfare. Residents and community advocates report that pilots take turns and deliberately target the same citizens who file noise and safety report with regulatory agencies in a coordinated effort to intimidate them. Hobbyist pilots and those affiliated with these flight schools and recreational pilots have been using social media or the airport dysfunctional noise portal to identify and then bully the few citizens who try to aid their neighbors by speaking up. The bullying even includes an aviation variant of road rage, the use of small planes to descend and circle low over homes of known concerned citizens while tuning off their ADS-B from transmitting to intimidate them. And FAA has done nothing to curtail this bullying. It is as if there were no real regulation by FAA, no accountability for the players who gain profits or just pursue their hobby, while spewing pollutants, often including lead and other toxins, and horrible noise in the air above our homes. The FAA's continued refusal to act on a petition backed by thousands of verified community signatures is a shameful demonstration of an agency that simply cannot be bothered to do its job. Instead of safeguarding the public, the FAA is actively abusing its sovereign authority to empower and enable rogue, dangerous aviation activities that have absolutely no place above congested areas. Quiet residential communities located 5 to 10 miles away from the airport should not be subjected to high-performance aerobatic planes flying in tight formations and ripping through the sky at full speed, just so a private operator can pocket $1,000 an hour from thrill-seeking tourists. Furthermore, under the guise of the FAA's NextGen modernization, low-flying commercial planes are taking off and landing at awfully low altitudes over quiet residential corridors far away from Harry Reid International Airport. The resulting ultrafine particles, toxic air pollution, and terrible noise are poisoning Clark County residents. The FAA, with the help of the U.S. Congress and the Aviation Department, has turned our quiet residential neighborhoods into virtual airports. By turning a blind eye to this blatant auditory torture, public health and safety hazard, the FAA has made it clear that they prioritize the profit margins of airlines and joyriding operators over the lives, health, and sanity of the tax-paying citizens they are supposed to protect. This video exposes a corrupt 24/7 aerial siege over our homes, fueled by government cover-ups, malicious retaliation, and blatant lies perpetuated against aviation-impacted communities by the establishment. While the FAA callously rubber stamps this aerial siege as having no significant impact, local politicians and Congress actively protect the abusers instead of the taxpayers, including Representative Susie Lee, who refuses to pay even cheap lip service, abandoning her constituents by rejecting requests to sign the Quiet Skies Caucus letter to the US DOT and FAA, demanding accountability from the regulatory agencies. Right outside Las Vegas, wide open, unpopulated land sits completely empty. Yet, the FAA weaponizes our skies anyway, sending low-flying planes to circle the city, target citizen advocates, and terrorize residential neighborhoods. This is the toxic, inhumane reality for 91 terrorized aviation-impacted communities across America. We are being poisoned, harassed, and aggressively gaslit by a rogue, belligerent federal agency. Meanwhile, our corrupt elected officials deliberately weaponize the law to block our protection. They didn't just fail us, they actively sold us out to powerful, deep-pocketed aviation and airline lobby groups while handing total control of our skies over to a ruthless, predatory ATC management machine weaponized by Palantir and Peraton.